Welcome to Authentic with Brazil 201. I'm your host, Brazil 201. So, on today's episode, we're going to talk about the DNC needs to move on from South Carolina's first status. But before we get into that, some notes. First, before I will be doing a podcast on the beauty that will go up later tonight, probably around 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m., whatever. And that will be weekly. I have seen the first 3 episodes of the beauty. It is fucking amazing. There's too much good television this January between Tell Me Lies, The Beauty, Fallout, Hijack, Game of Thrones, Industry. There's a lot. But now on to the main part of it. The DNC needs to move on from South Carolina. First of all, this South Carolina nonsense first, right? Because South Carolina was never a first state. It was like the fourth state, which I think is okay. But we all know South Carolina was only moved first, not because of black voters are so important or that for whatever reason, black voters in South Carolina are the most important, which makes zero sense. But before we get into that, obviously, this is all from our last DNC chair, Jamie Harrison, who is a fat, bald, ugly, fat fuck who looks like Mr. Potato Head come to life. That ugly idiot blocked me on Twitter. But what do you expect when you're a fat fuck and bald and, you idiots gave this idiot fucking $40 million so he can get blown out by Lindsey Graham, but at 30 points. And then, you know what? Joe Biden's stupidity is like, you know what? That guy should lead the DNC. But that's okay. The DNC is always going to be full of idiots, whoever's in charge, because look at our current idiot, Ken Martin, who's too scared to release the autopsy because also Ken Martin's a fucking bitch. So Jamie Harrison is a fat, bald fuck, and Ken Martin's a fucking bitch. So there we go with the DNC thing, right? And this is why exactly you can never have the Joe Rogan of the left, because look how mad people get at criticizing the fact that Joe Biden can't speak, or Kamala Harris was too scared to go on Guy podcast um, without her staffers and was too scared to distance herself from Joe Biden. She has bad fucking judgment skills, or that Jamie Harrison is a fat, bald fuck, or that Ken Martin is a bitch. But back to the main topic of why the DNC needs to move on from South Carolina. Okay. There's growing chatters, right? 8 states submitted their thing to go first for the primary calendar in 2028. But there's growing chatter in the Democratic circles about once again, giving South Carolina the first nominating contest in the presidential primary in 28. And the justification is always the same nonsense. South Carolina's Democratic electorate is majority black, which supposedly ensures diversity early in the primary. But on paper, that sounds like reasonable, but in reality, ignores bigger strategic and electoral considerations, and raises a serious question about whether the party is once again putting symbolism and identity politics ahead of results. Imagine thinking, right, a Republican state should go first in the Democratic Party. By that logic, a Democratic state like New York or Oregon should go first for Republicans. It is 2026 right now, right? This South Carolina debate plays into the worst parts of the neoliberal identity politics that I thought was destroyed with Trump winning in 2024, right? Destroying Kamala and the entire country shifting right would have forced this idiots to drop this nonsense. Because look, even as Minneapolis is under siege, Democrats still have a lower approval rating than Republicans. And South Carolina's case might appeal to traditional narratives about representation, but when you look at the data, it becomes clear that other states, whether it be Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia, and New Jersey, which by the way all have a higher black population, and not only do they all have a higher black population, they have a higher, more minority population of everybody. And by the way, 3 of them are swing states, and 1 is a firm Democratic state, which, by the way, all of them make more sense as early contests for the Democratic Party. So no one has seemed to explain why South Carolina's diverse voters matter more than the swing state ones. Okay, 1, diversity alone is not enough. Okay, yes, South Carolina has a large black Democratic electorate, but guess what? So does Georgia, so does North Carolina, so does Michigan, so does New Jersey, right? Wow, over 50% of the primary voters are black. That demographic is crucial for the Democrats. I get that. But also, look, Zoran and Mikey Sherrill, who won their primaries, I'm not talking about their general electors, but their primaries, they won, by the way, without majority black votes in their primaries, by the way. They won with, I think, is what is the new Democratic Party. Zoran won with everyone else but black voters. And Mikey Sherrill also won with everyone else but black voters in their primaries, just so we know. And all of them both blew the field off with 50% in their primaries. I'm not talking about the general election of the Cuomo-Zoran vote, which, by the way, in the general election, Zoran did win black voters, unlike in the primary where Cuomo won black voters. But look, diversity is not a single metric. If the goal is to pick early states that reflect the modern Democratic coalition, they should consider racial and ethnic diversity beyond just black voters, urban versus rural population balance, education, income, and age profiles. By this measure, South Carolina does not qualify. States like Michigan, Georgia, and North Carolina offer a broader mix of voters who mirror what is the national Democratic electorate more closely. Michigan has an urban black community, college-educated suburbs, and a working-class base. Georgia offers racial diversity across the board and a fast-growing Latino population, plus competitive statewide elections. North Carolina reflects a mix of urban, suburban, and rural voters with diverse economic and cultural backgrounds. New Jersey has the highest proportion of immigrants and minorities, offering both racial and ethnic diversity. If the goal is moving South Carolina first is to center diversity, every other state I just mentioned actually checks the box more for representation. Next, the general election relevance matters more than tradition. South Carolina has been reliably a Republican in presidential elections. Democrats have not won this state since 1976. Republicans dominated in statewide office. This makes it a poor test of candidate viability for a national election. Compare this with potential early states like Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina. All three are swing states now. If the goal of your early primary is to identify a candidate who can win in the states you need to win a general election, then it makes more sense these states go first and not fucking South Carolina, which a Democrat will never fucking win. Next, 3. Turnouts and engagements are weak signals, even if South Carolina were made first again. Low turnout in past Democratic primaries are often under 10% of registered Democrats. It makes it a poor gauge of voters' enthusiasm and candidate strength. In contrast, states like Michigan or Georgia, North Carolina, and New Jersey are larger and more populous and more engaged, getting a better read on candidates' appeal to a broader electorate. 4. Other states are both diverse and competitive. One of the strongest arguments that we keep getting yelled at about South Carolina, but only from idiots in South Carolina, is diversity. But every other state is actually more diverse and electorally meaningful. Georgia has a large black electorate and a growing Latino and Asian population. Michigan combines racial diversity with a mix of education and income levels in swing districts. North Carolina is a microcosm of all of America with suburbs, urban, and rural voters. New Jersey is the most diverse state in the entire fucking country outside New York City. Okay? All these states test candidates in ways South Carolina can never, from coalition building to policy appeal. 5. The party's obsession with ritual is holding it back. There's a reason Democrats stick to early traditions. It's safe, it's familiar, to justify symbolism, but elevating South Carolina first in 2024 was obvious just so Joe Biden could actually win a primary, and it was that, and in this whole ritual status, representation across. Here we go. We need to test candidates who can win a general election, not a state that has zero fucking purpose. Okay, here's the smart alternative. Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, and New Jersey should be the first 4 states. Okay, because these states not only test the candidate's ability to win across demographic groups, they also ensure early contest matters for November, something South Carolina never can provide. Next, electability and leadership cannot be ignored. At the end of the day, the Democratic Party is not just debating which state should go first. It's debating who's capable of winning in 2028, and some realities cannot be ignored. Okay, this is more my personal beef nonsense. Gavin Newsom is not a good presidential candidate. He's a great vice presidential candidate, not president. He's media savvy, he has a presence for national leadership, but he lacks the coalition to carry a general election to win on his own because, once again, he's a California liberal. Next, and I'm going to stick with this because we can finally say this. Like Michelle Obama said, no woman candidate can win the presidency in 2028. It's not 2020 anymore. We can say it. Democrats do not have to lie or pretend a woman can win. Bernie was right in 2020 that Elizabeth Warren would have lost in 2020. Michelle Obama is right that America doesn't want a woman president. Okay? It doesn't matter if it's Kamala Harris, AOC, or some magical new hot white moderate chick that does not exist yet. Okay? Next, Kamala Harris is far too cautious in her public appearances. She avoids appearing on any of the male podcasts without staffers and yet believes she can be president. If you're too scared to fucking talk to Joe Rogan for 3 fucking hours without your staffers, you really think you're qualified to be president? That right? There's a lack of public toughness and liability where candidates need to show their authenticity. And guess what? If Kamala's just going to say, "I grew up in a middle class family 300 fucking times," she won't even make it to Iowa again, just like in 20 or whatever state goes first in 2020. Because I bet you Gavin, or once everyone hears her talk and realize she still won't distance herself from Joe Biden or the Gaza situation or whatever the fuck, she will not make it again to 2020. And guess what? This time around, the primary electorate is going to be more honest about because they believe a woman cannot win, and everyone believes a woman cannot win. But anyway, conclusion. This South Carolina as a first primary is for symbolism only and is for idiots like Ken Martin and Jamie Harrison who want to rig the process so that only the neoliberal candidate fucking comes in first, right? So, you know what? If Ken Martin picks fucking South Carolina to go first, or Jamie Harrison, whoever the fuck is in charge of the stupid math, well, congratulations on, you know, Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom losing to fucking JD Vance in 4 years, okay? Look, Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, and Jersey, they should be the first 4 states. Iowa serves no fucking purpose. South Carolina serves no purpose. Same reason why everyone's like, Iowa shouldn't go first. Iowa's a Republican state. Exactly why South Carolina should not fucking go first either. Okay, this is all about symbolism, blah, 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 blah. It's time for a new Democratic Party. You want to yell at me? I don't really give a shit. Oh shit, Lizzie Novak's on Chicago Med.